Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babyle Jonathan. Opposition politicians in the Republic of Cameroon continue decrying the crackdown imposed on them by administrative authorities. And the recent case is that of the National Union for Democracy and Progress, UNDP, political party whose militants were reportedly tortured by a divisional officer in the far north region of the country. The divisional officer has been dragged to court. We'll bring to you more details in this edition of the news on Equinoxe television. We shall also talk about at least 100 persons killed in a gold mine in Chad, in neighboring Chad. They were killed during a fight between the miners. We begin this newscast in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, where the National Union for Democracy and Progress, NUDP political party, has dragged the divisional officer of Ile Alifa to court over maltreatment of militants of that opposition political party after the party was hindered from taking part in the May 20 National Day celebration. It is now decrying maltreatment and the fact that some militants were molested reportedly by the divisional officer of Ile Alifa in that part of the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon. The militants are decrying crackdown by administrative authorities, and this cry is coming from all opposition political parties across the country who have repeatedly been denied access to their rights, in different circumstances. Details in this report, compiled by Magic and Gabriel.
It is a cold war that is going on between the militants of the National Union for Democracy and Progress and the divisional officer of Ile Alifa in the Logon and Shari division of the Far North region. The disgruntled militants of NUDP are on the neck of the divisional officer, Baza Mala Kelly, who maltreated them during the 50th anniversary celebration of the National Day in Ile Alifa. We were shocked because as human beings and Cameroonians who want to celebrate the National Day, a human being will stand against them at Ile Alifa, claiming they don't have a legal backing. Talking about the arrest, he caused the forces of law and order to arrest our militants. The intervention of the senior divisional officer of Logon and Shari enabled them to be released. The divisional officer, Baza Mala Kelly, said NUDP party's activities in Ile Alifa was illegal. Reasons they were denied to take part in the march past, something a member of NUDP refuted. While in his office, he made us to understand that we don't have illegal backing of existence in Ile Alifa. He knows that NUDP is at the national level, not in Ile Alifa. When we show him proof of our existence, that was when he went in search of other excuses of refusing us to march. The militants of the National Union of Democracy and Progress, who were allegedly molested by the forces of law and order, receiving instructions from the divisional officer Baza Malai Kelly, recorded a huge casualty. Two of our comrades were arrested and kept behind bars. 23 injured, and within those injured, one is still having pains on his right hand. 18 party dresses destroyed and a banner of the party destroyed. 238 receipts of the national identity card seized from our militants, and 7 telephones alongside the sum of 250,000 francs CFA were taken by the forces of law and order.
Et 7 téléphones portables ont été récupérés avec une somme de 250 000 francs.
The 250,000 francs CFA that was allegedly taken from the NUDP militants was money meant to pay their transport. All attempts made by Equinoxe Television to get the version from the divisional officer of Ile Alifa failed on camera, but off camera, Baza Malai Kelly told us he didn't ask for any militant of the NUDP party to be molested, but he accepted, refusing them from participating in the May 20 march past in Ile Alifa. Judges of the National Union for Democracy and Progress, NUDP party, have filed a case against the divisional officer of Ile Alifa.
Human rights violation has become almost an everyday thing in the Republic of Cameroon and in all sectors of life, including the sector of media men, who are also deprived of the right of access to information and other rights, and many of them have seen their rights violated in different circumstances. And of course, this is why some civil society organizations brought together some of the journalists to drill them, to enable them to understand the rights and also to enhance their capacity to report human rights violations in the country. Mala Glory has more.
The greatest challenge for most media men in Cameroon sometimes is obtaining an official document or an interview with a public authority. According to a journalist of the East region, they often do not have access to information, especially on human rights.
And those who are at times victims are not ready to explain what happened, and those who violate the human rights themselves are not ready to speak to journalists. If you go to somebody who has violated and ask him what happened, he may not be interested or willing to speak to you. So the journalists generally have that difficulty.
Some opinion hold that broadcasters develop interesting stories beneficial to them and tend to neglect human rights stories.
The spaces given by media to human rights in news is really very low compared to many other countries. While we have so many information about human rights, but the problem is that journalists are not interested, and also because the media houses are not interested.
News reporters often find it difficult to surpass the different security officials on their way in order to meet an authority, be it a governor, an SDO, or other administrative authority due to lack of trust. It will permit you to be able to access information without difficulties, be it in a police station or a gendarmerie brigade. The authorities need to be open to journalists. This because if you can't get in contact with these authorities, you won't be able to treat related stories. The importance to promote human rights stories in media houses brought together about 60 journalists and lawyers in a training workshop in Douala. The Project Free Press permitted the training of the newscasters and to empower them against human rights violation in Cameroon.
Terminal students of the French subsystem of education in the Republic of Cameroon began writing the baccalaureate exam today across the national territory. In some of the centers that we visited here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, the examination was unfolding hitch-free, despite some few absences recorded in some of the centers, and of course the students who were present on the different campuses were taking part in the official examination, the 2022 session of the baccalaureate examination in the French subsystem of education. And of course, we'll bring to you this information concerning the 2022 pilgrimage to Mecca by Muslim faithfuls. The Minister of Decentralization of the Republic of Cameroon, Tanganji Paul, President of the National Hajj Commission, has indicated in a release that the actual cost of traveling to Mecca for that pilgrimage is 3,294,000 francs CFA, contrary to some information that had been circulating, according to the minister, from some unauthorized sources, indicating that the price was 4 million and some 390 million, 3,900,000 francs here, the minister stated very clearly. And he also went ahead to indicate that the subvention from the government is not obligatory. It is rather obligatory, or better still, one of the 5 pillars of Islam for the faithfuls to travel to Mecca once a year for the pilgrimage, and the head of state has taken measures for the journey of the Muslim faithfuls to Mecca to unfold hitch-free. And of course, this information is coming from the Ministry of Territorial Administration, whose minister is the president of the National Hajj Commission. He is, after several months out of the country, he is welcomed back home by the same problem he left behind. Chief Ndike Richard, a member of the Southwest House of Chiefs and traditional ruler of the Mondoni people in the Southwest region, was received at the Mongo Bridge by military trucks being deployed to the Southwest region of the country, an indication of the unstable situation still prevailing there as a result of the close to 6-year-long armed conflict going on. And Chief Ndike reassured the traditional rulers of the Fako division in particular that as he went to canvass for on the land or home investment from the sons and daughters of the Fako division, he got positive answers, and they are going to be taking action to enhance development across the Fako division anytime soon. Derija to us now.
At his reception here at the Mongo Bridge, by traditional rulers of Fako division who were accompanied by some of their friends and peers from the littoral region. Chief Ndike Richard, who has been out of the Southwest region for months now, and as he stepped down back on the line of his forefathers, he still saw a military convoy being deployed into the Southwest region, an indication that the situation he left behind has not changed that much. There are still attacks, and stories of people killed and properties destroyed are still being reported. Chief Ndike Richard, who is a traditional ruler from Mondoni Intiko subdivision and a member of the Southwest House of Chiefs, left the shores of Cameroon to the continent of Europe and America to seek for avenues for cultural ties and development of the identity of a people, tracing from their ancestral path.
I met a lot of my sons and daughters who are grown-up men, responsible people today, and they assured us that they will stand to ensure that the activities of Fako is highly supported by them. And notwithstanding, next week I'll be having a strong meeting with my peers, the executive, to put the action plan on the table for the way forward of what we have ahead.
The traditional head of the Mondoni people was received here at Likoki Chief's Palace, found along the Tiko Douala Road, in Tiko subdivision.
The war in Ukraine and consequent economic sanctions imposed by Western nations on Russia is a big opportunity to Africa, according to Sendor, or Dr. Sendor, the Cameroon president of the Asian African Chamber of Commerce. She's a business consultant, and speaking to The Inside, she said these sanctions open up a great opportunity for Africans to emerge, for African nations to emerge in different economic spheres. Take a listen to her in this report compiled by Fomi Armstrong Sander.
The war in Ukraine and consequent economic sanctions imposed on Russia by the West and its allies is a big opportunity for Africa, according to Dr. Sendor, Cameroon president of the Asia Africa Chamber of Commerce.
I will tell you it's a big opportunity. If our eyes are bright enough, we see that when a superpower goes down, a new superpower is born. And I think Africa has to take this as a big opportunity. Before, we are looking up to Russia, for example, for specific products. We're looking at farmers with fertilizer crisis. We are looking at Us who like to eat puff puff in the morning and there's no flour, there's no wheat coming in with flour and all of that. What can we use now? You can provide the things Russia was providing before, so we can actually have a say on the decision table. I know we have brothers and sisters who've been in diaspora, and they have learned what our big brothers out there know. Bring it home. Let us become that one superpower as Africa.
To achieve this, she says Africans and Cameroonians in particular should embrace a paradigm shifting mindset.
Africans don't think solution oriented. They want to consume. They want somebody else to bring those solutions for them. It's about time we fine tune our minds and start thinking solutions. If you don't think solutions, you cannot be on the decision table. You cannot be a policy maker. It's about time you pick a packet of biscuits, look at it and ask what kind of ingredients were fed in there to be able to give you this final product. You have to keep thinking, okay, if I cannot breathe today, there may be a next person who will not be able to breathe. What solution can I bring in?
To actualize this growth, Africa, according to her, should engage more with Asia, which shares a lot of natural and historical similarities with the continent.
Before, MOUs were being signed without a critical look on the benefits on Africa. We have to fine-tune that. And we are not forgetting that we have our counterparts who are Asians, but we are considering the fact that they are already well developed. Now, Africa has to develop. And for us to develop, we need to learn from the master.
She believes that the upcoming African Expo in Malaysia will give Africans an opportunity to engage on better partnerships with their Asian counterparts for sustainable economic growth.
Dr. Sendo is also a peace ambassador in that capacity. She told the Insight that for the problems, notably the security and socio-political challenges in the northwest, southwest regions, but also in the other parts of the country, to be effectively solved, the father must call the angry children to the table, listen to them, and take appropriate solutions and take appropriate actions to respond to their plight. Take a listen to her.
Before there is a divorce in the home, there has been existing a problem that has been looked upon like nothing. If I wake up every day and I'm complaining as a child to my parents every day, I'm like, Daddy, we need to talk. Mommy, we need to talk. And Daddy does not listen. Mommy does not listen. One day, definitely, I want to lock up the door and irritate Mommy and Daddy when they're about to go out and they can get angry. Either flog me so that we can finally talk in one way or the other, so that they can hear me out, even if they don't give me a solution. I'm from the Northwest. I was resident in the Southwest. I left because of the political unrest. If our young people had what they could do with the energy that is inside of them, they would have been fighting up and down. And if they actually had a platform, they could be able to express themselves without fear, to be another opportunity. Now, besides being a peace ambassador, I encourage a lot of dialogue. And for us to understand that we are all human beings and we have emotions. And when those emotions are tempered with, first time, second time, once it gets to the apex, we want to fight back. So the most we could do right now in the heart of all of this turbulence, which there's no way we could even live in a country without some of these hitches, the best way we could do right now is to see that we begin to isolate people, especially youths, women and girls, and provide them with what they need. And what do they need? They are not jobs. What do they need? They want to think innovative and get active. They want to be active. Let's give them something that can get them very active. At the same time, listen to them. I'm looking at the young boys and girls, the youths that are dangling up and down, confusing here and there. If you could sit them down and ask them, what do you need? And we start providing small, something could happen better. So if we could create an arena where we could constantly have opportunities to talk to our decision makers on a regular basis, it's going to help a lot.
Dr. Sendo Clementine, Peace Ambassador, Cameroon President of the Asian African Chamber of Commerce, speaking there to the Inside. Now in news out of the Republic of Cameroon, Chadian authorities say fighting between informal gold miners in a remote part of northern Chad has left around 100 people dead and 40 others injured, and it is reported that what began as a mundane dispute between two individuals degenerated. The defense minister of that country, Dawood Yahya Brahim, told the press that the situation degenerated and led to the death of at least 100 people, and the mountainous Kuri Bugudi district near the Libyan border attracts miners from across Chad and its neighbors, and the clashes occurred last weekend, but details are only emerging now. Some groups have put the death toll higher than the authorities and have blamed the security forces for a number of the deaths recorded in the clashes in that part of Chad last week. And this is where we end the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thank you for staying with us in Talking Point. Three lawyers, barristers Chana Anthony, Kamini John, and Nicholas Keme Okbe, have been tried for assault on a magistrate and hate speech, and the three lawyers, members of the FACO Lawyers Association in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, have been tried, and the matter was heard for the first time May 27, 2022, and was adjourned to June 10, 2022. And FACO lawyers are decrying and protesting what they consider as persecution of lawyers, as an attack on the legal profession, or better still, on lawyers. And joining us today, Barrister Edward Lionga, a human rights lawyer. Barrister, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Pastor Jonathan. It's always a pleasure for me to be here to talk to Marines.
Right, Barrister Edward, what exactly happened in court, and what provoked the charges of assault on a magistrate and hate speech against the three lawyers that I mentioned earlier, barristers Chana Anthony, Kamini John, and Nicholas Keme Obe?
Please, we need to correct certain things. The first thing is that this supposed painting within the charge sheet was talking about a people magistrate, because that is supposed to be made very clear. So what happened is that three lawyers are being charged before the Court of First Instance, Boya, for assault on a public servant, and they are also being charged for hate speech. Assault to public servants is governed under Section 154 of the Penal Code, and hate speech is governed under Section 241 sub 1 of the Penal Code. So these three lawyers are standing trial in the Court of First Instance for assault and hate speech. So the matter came up on the 27th of May 2022, and in court there were a lot of things that were a little bit worrying to us, because during the court session, the lead counsel for the defense was the former batonnier barrister Itabisong Jr., and we had over 30 lawyers who came present to defend our colleagues. So just to mention to Cameroonians to know that they are charging lawyers for hate speech, and the hate speech law came out on the 24th of December 2019, and the alleged offense was committed in July 2019. So if you want to look at it critically, the first thing that we raised as objection was the retrospection of the law. If you look at section 3 of the penal code, it says that nobody will be tried for a crime, for a law that does not exist, because the law came out in December 2019. Meanwhile, this person allegedly committed a crime in July. The law came out about 4 to 5 months. It came out on the 24th of December 2019. Meanwhile, the crime, the incident they allegedly say was committed in July. Happened in July 2019. So if you look at it, you will see that there is retrospection of the law. You cannot try 5 months after, you cannot try persons for an incident that happened 5 months before that law came into force. The law on hate speech only came into force in 24th of December 2019. So that was the first objection that lawyers raised by their lead counsel, by Mr. Itabison. And the judge said it was something based on evidence. So we started seeing, we were not very comfortable, because even a blind man will see that if a law does not exist, you cannot try people on that. The other issue that was raised was the issue of a public servant. They say that an assault was committed on a public servant, but the alleged incident took place in court between a lawyer and a people magistrate. So a student from Enam, let Cameroonians be clear, it's a student from Enam, and the questions we raised in court became a civil servant. If you look at section 3 of the code on civil servant in Cameroon, on public servant status of and functioning of public servants, it is clear that a civil servant is any person who has been integrated into the public service. So these were the objections that were raised, and the court overruled us. We were not very comfortable, and we wanted to raise another objection again. The court said they will not take us down, and that they must go on to arraign this accused person. We saw it as a persecution, because even on the charge sheet that was brought before the court, what was written there is that these 3 persons should come and stand persecution. They should come and try a trial of persecution. So we also raised that issue, that the court should declare itself incompetent to try persons on persecution basis. Because if you look at all international conventions that have been signed and ratified by Cameroon, most especially the Convention on Torture, is against people being tried under the guise of persecution. So these are the issues that were raised. But you see that
let's just step back a little bit so that we can understand exactly what happened in July 2019, before the hate speech law was enacted and of course promulgated into law, and what happened between the 3 lawyers and the people magistrate. Can you tell us what exactly happened in July 2019?
What exactly happened was that in court, when a senior comes, a junior leaves the seat for a senior, and a very senior lawyer came in, by Tachana Antonio came in, and those people magistrates, students from Enam, had occupied so many of the seats. So he came in under our practice in the common law jurisdiction. When a senior comes to court, by Tachana Isabo 10 years pro-poor. And when he came to court, under normal situation, if he asked for a seat, you are just a student. Courtesy sake is your elder brother, just a student. You should go ahead to offer him a seat. There were not enough seats. And so that was what caused the commotion. And you know, magistrates in Cameroon always feel that they are superior to lawyers, and maybe that is why even students of the law, they always have this notion that they are superior to lawyers. So that was exactly what happened. There was a small confrontation, but due to this confrontation, the president of the court of first instance called the parties to her office and see how they could settle it amicably. And she's a good person. She tried to sort out the issue between the lawyer and the people magistrate. And we thought that was over. And the former bar president, Patronate Chakunte Pate Charles, and the representative of the bar president in the Southwest, and also FACLA president, Eno Benjamin, and his entire EDCO came and met the Procureur General so that they could sort this issue out amicably. And after that, we knew that everything was over. Our colleagues were just shocked and embarrassed that they were served with summonses to appear in court. As to an incident that happened in 2019 involving a student magistrate. Now she's a full magistrate. She comes to court and all of them, and we felt so intimidated. So when we saw all of these things, we saw that it is issue of persecution.
You qualify it as persecution on grounds that some legal provisions are not respected.
It is not us saying it's persecution, Mr. Babila. But we know it's persecution. But the charge, what they even brought to court, you know, God, if they want to kill a dog, the gods start by making it mad. How on earth would they bring a charge in court that involves lawyers, and what is written there is persecution, and nobody sees it until it's raised in open court? So you see that God was just trying to bring out the real intention of these people who want to rob the name of lawyers in the mud. To be honest with you, Babila, this is not the first time when lawyers are treated like this. Just of recent, Barrister Tanfu Richard was being prosecuted, locked up in Douala for something that happened in court. Barrister Yondo Black, Meche Yondo Black, was prosecuted in the 90s. Barrister Bobala was prosecuted. So it is a normal phenomenon that in this country lawyers are not respected, and that is why we are still saying that we are calling for a strong bar. The elections are coming up on the 18th of June. We are calling for a strong bar to make sure that lawyers are being protected. Lawyers are the watchdog of the society. If lawyers cannot protect themselves, what about the litigants outside? What about people who rely on lawyers for their rights to be protected? And I think that it is something that has to do with the judiciary, and we should not go and dictate our lenience in public. I thought that after the bar president Batoune met with the Procureur General, this issue was supposed to be a thing of the past. And after the president of the court of first instance tried to solve this problem, we knew that everything was over. So I think that we are still hoping that in the days ahead we could still sit down as one family to see how we could solve this problem amicably. We cannot fight among ourselves. In fact, to be honest with you, we are bound to work together with these magistrates and lawyers. all of us we are in the same cause.
Lawyers and magistrates are bound to work together in the legal court. But what is difficult sometimes to understand is this continuous friction between the lawyers and the magistrates.
Yeah. No, the friction is simple. In other jurisdictions like in Nigeria, before you want to become a magistrate, you first be a lawyer. All of them are in the same bar association in Nigeria, in Ghana, in South Africa and the West. But in Cameroon, considering the fact that magistrates are trained in a NAM and lawyers maybe come through direct enrollment coming from the law school or writing the bar council, the fact that we are not trained together, the fact that we are not in one association, there is always a problem. There's always this problem.
Some little connection issues there with
for them, and we call them my lord. They feel they are superior to us. But I think that this is something that we need to change the dynamic. If we want to have a country where there is a respect of the rule of law, we must see each other as equal so that we can work together.
So what are you looking up to? What next? After the first hearing, the second hearing will be coming up.
Lawyers walk out of court in protest, and they are going to advise themselves on the next step to take. And I think that is exactly what we are saying, that they are advising themselves on the next step to take. And the lead counsel is involved. The lead counsel is no other person but former bâtonnier Eta Bison. So he is a lead counsel in the matter, and so we are working on his directives to see that everything is in place. But I still want to say here that these are issues that could still be handled amicably, because it is something that involves lawyers and magistrates, and we are bound to always work together.
Right, thank you, Barrister Edward Lionga Ewule, human rights lawyer, joining us from the Southwest Regional Chieftown Boya. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Babila. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Stay with us.